Hey, what's up, everybody? It's In the Galaxy podcast. I'm here with Jay Williams. What's up, Jay?
Hello, people out there in Galaxy Land. Michael's already coughing in the microphone. What is wrong with you? Go to the doctor.
Hey, the only doctor I care about is Dr. Dre and Dr. Feelgood and Dr. Pepper. All right.
Well, that's unfortunate because I don't think any of those people have PhDs, so I think you're fucked.
Anyways. That's a good way to put it. Well, for this part of the podcast, we are going to talk about technology. Let's dive right into it. Our topic for today is mobile devices. So, Jay, what are your thoughts on mobile devices since you're our resident Nostradamus predictor?
Okay. Let's see here. Well, basically, I had a conversation with somebody the other day in terms of computers and mobile devices. You know, everybody's got a cell phone for the most part. Michael actually just switched off of a flip phone, which we covered in episode 1. But
yeah, we briefly touched on that. I basically just did it out of being stubborn because I only just wanted to text and call, and I didn't want to be one of those people chained to their phones like I am now with checking even Twitter now on top of Facebook. So
yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, I think, people are definitely tethered to their phones in more than one way. I had a joke that there's kind of a new American dinner table pose. It's basically everybody sitting at a dinner table down here like this while they're eating dinner. So, and for people that are listening to us, which is not the case because we still haven't figured out the whole audio thing yet, but I had my head down looking at my phone. But yeah, people, it's one of those things where if you go out of the house, you could forget your wallet, you could forget, I don't know, whatever, but if you forget your phone, it feels like you're screwed. You know what I mean? I mean, are you like that? Do you feel like you can't go anywhere without your phone?
Oh, I mean, it's definitely something that I keep with me all the time. I was watching Jerry Seinfeld do a new stand-up bit. I think it was on Conan. I can't remember for sure. But
I think
he
it was
just
on Fallon. I think
Fallon.
He was on Fallon or something.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. It was Fallon. So he was basically just talking about how, it's necessary to have this big rectangle in my pocket. And why would I need to call anybody when I could just text them? Why? And it was a lot funnier than that. But I mean, yeah, we're on our phones. I was at a bar last night, and sure enough, people are just, flipping through on their phones, and they're stuck on it. I really make a conscious effort to keep the phone in my pocket and be in the reality of the people's presence that are around me and not somebody else.
That's a very a very holistic approach to things. I like to see the people. I like to be involved with the people, even that creepy person that's standing there staring at me. But no, it's right. One of those things. It's one of those things too, where I think people they use it as like a comfort thing. I mean, I know if I go to a bar, I'm meeting friends at a bar, and I get there early. Let's say I'm 10, 15 minutes early, and I'm just sitting in the bar by myself drinking a beer. I've got my phone out looking at it because I don't have anything better to do, and sometimes I don't even look at anything. I look at like the same thing over and over and over again. It's just I don't know. It's just kind of a comfort thing.
It was awkward for me with my flip phone when I still had it, because if I'm waiting for somebody like in your situation, then I'm just staring at the clock on my phone because I can't get internet on it or anything. So I felt
Let's be honest. I mean, if you're still rocking a flip phone in this day and age, 9 times out of 10, you're probably doing something illegal, like you're a drug dealer or whatnot, because you have to have those disposable right. phones. So most people probably thought you were selling meth or something like that.
Can you imagine? Yeah, can you imagine having a flip phone in Silicon Valley of all places? Like Apple, Google are down the road, and people at the bars work at those places, and they see me with a flip phone, and they're just like, oh my God, this guy is an idiot.
Can I imagine it?
You can't.
Yeah, if you're a drug dealer. So throwing that out there. But
yeah, I saw a psychological study, did it in college actually, about people, if they're walking down the sidewalk and they get anxious or they see somebody that they don't know or that they do know, then they'll pull out their phone and they'll look at it.
I do it all the
Kind of
time.
avoid that.
I do it all the time. Yeah, if I'm in the mall, I've discovered that the mall is one of the most awkward places in the world to be alone in, because like I don't ever know what to do with my hands. Like I'm like swaying them back and forth or putting them
Doing
in
the
my pocket,
robot.
looking like a douchebag, or I've got my phone out looking at that. Yeah, I don't know, but not kind of to tie things in together here. You know, the new big thing is well, I guess it's not too new, but iPads and stuff like that. You know, I have this laptop that we're sitting on or we're communicating on right now. In the background right there, that's my old desktop computer that this laptop replaced.
And what year is that?
Even though I've got both of those, what's that?
What year is that? That's a dinosaur, brother.
No, it's not that old. It's right before they went to the silver iMacs. I think it's I don't know what it is. I can't remember, and I'm not going to pretend like I know because some nerd on the internet is going to be like,
historians, no, that's an iOS leopard.
But now, even though I've got that thing, which still runs decent, I need to get it looked at, but I have this laptop, and actually I still have the very first Mac laptop I ever bought, which is a graduation present in 2005 that's still running today at my parents' house. But anyways, even though I have all those things, I still sit on the couch and surf the internet on this bad boy, my iPad. It's just so, it's so light, it's so compact, it's so easy to use. I mean, in terms of a leisurely device, I mean, I can do everything that I want to do on here. Check emails, check Twitter, check Facebook, anything like that. And that goes for any tablet. And I'm starting to wonder if maybe things like desktops might become a little bit, I don't know, dated or something like that. I mean, I know that there's obviously uses for, the G5s and whatnot for video editing and high-end type of computer work, but things like a leisure device as a desktop, I don't know. I'm not sure if that's going to be around for too much longer.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, just to kind of backtrack on the first thing that you mentioned about your iPad and stuff like that. Jon Stewart talked one time. He said, I use my iPad to convince my kids that I'm shrinking when he put it up to his face like an iPhone. And I just think yeah, when I had my flip phone, I used my iPad. I had an iPad. I used it a bunch, and I was still able to keep up with the technology because it's relatively the same as the iPhone, give or take a few differences, but it's very, minute differences. But, yeah, so I was able to do that, and my screensaver, there we go, the Galaxy is back. Galaxy.
Yeah, well, just from what you were saying, that's funny because, you were joking, obviously, about the size of the iPad. I mean, a lot of people said when the iPad came out that it was just like a giant iPhone, which it kind of is, but it's got a lot more capabilities, I think, in terms of processing power and speed and et cetera. But, you look at some of the...
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, you look at some of the other phones and that are out there right now besides the iPhone, and dude, those screens are fucking gigantic on those things. And I personally, I'm a Mac guy, but I'm not like one of those, what camp are you in? Are you in Mac or Apple? Which we could probably have a whole nother podcast on about the kind of team mentality behind the two things. But it's so funny because we started out with phones being these big clunky things. I remember my dad,
the Zach Morris Saved by the Bell phone.
Yeah, and I remember my dad used to drive this blue Toyota truck that had a cell phone in it that back in the day, probably early 90s, was like blew my freaking mind. It was
the Motorola's.
He kept it in a bag, and you had to unzip it and get it out and do all this other shit. But it's funny how we went from big to being as small as we can. Now we're actually going back to getting larger. The phones are starting to get a little bit larger now because people want screen size and this and that. And I'm like, I tell people all the time, look, if I want to look at something big on a screen, I'll use my iPad. If, I can use my iPhone for other stuff. So.
Yeah, I love that. I love the huge screen. I just love just being on there and being able to touch. But then I'm also, I'm a writer too, so I enjoy that feel of touching a keyboard, and I enjoy that as well. But yeah, I mean, when the iPhone first came out, I was toward the end. I think it was iPhone 4 when Jobs was still alive. They prided themselves on, this iPhone 4 is a quarter of an inch thinner than the other iPhone. And then they found out in the Bay Area that in order to make it thinner, they had to wrap the antenna around the exterior. And the way people were holding it, if they held it wrong, they wouldn't get reception. So what was Apple's solution? They gave people a free case that brought it back to the original size of the previous version.
Right.
So I just found that ironic.
Yeah, I mean, the whole size thing, I mean, things are going to continue to get smaller as time goes on. And
I guess the question is, does size matter?
I think for a lot of people it does, and especially in terms of the screens, I mean, that's what seems to be bringing a lot of people away from iPhones. Personally, it doesn't really appeal to me, but my friend that I work with, he just switched from an iPhone to whatever the Samsung thing is,
Galaxy,
whatever it is, and this just it doesn't appeal to me. Like the phone, as much as I love my phone, like I don't want to have some giant fucking monolithic block in my pocket all the time. I'm pretty content with this little beast right here. And that's the other thing too. A lot of people, I know you have a really protective case on it. I have this is just a little bit of a nerd recommendation, but I have a really thin case.
Are you still there, Jay?
Other case companies, but I always keep coming back to this one. I've never dropped it and broken it, even though it's as thin and sleek as it can be. But those thicker, heavy-duty cases give you more peace of mind, though, I suppose.
Okay. Yeah, I think, you might have cut out a little bit. I kind of lost you on my end a little bit, so apologies to our viewers if there's a break. But I heard everything that you said.
I lost you on my end earlier, but that's okay.
Yeah, we're basically just talking about your case.
Yeah.
Nice case.
My iPhone case, yeah. Well, do you think we should go in and I guess we should talk a little bit about how we're splitting these up now, because we didn't really that was kind of after the fact thing that we did last podcast. So why don't you tell them why we're doing that and how we're doing that and stuff?
Yeah, so basically this is going to be the technology podcast, and we're going to try and keep it less than 30 minutes. And then the music podcast, we're going to review one album, and that's going to be 30 minutes. And then we're going to review another album. That's going to be another 30 minutes.
Maybe. I mean, definitely under 30 minutes, but if it's shorter than 30 minutes, that's cool.
Yeah, definitely shorter. I am a bit of a tech guru, so I do check the analytics, and we do have some viewers actually watching these, even though it's like Good. 2 minutes or my parents or your parents watching. You got to start somewhere with an audience.
Absolutely.
But I got to get the other ones up. I definitely have to be better about that, and it's definitely I'm doing research into getting this actually up on iTunes as well.
Good stuff, yeah.
So that's kind of a challenge, because I don't know if it's syndicated yet. If you have to have a syndicated podcast in order to get up on iTunes.
Yeah, I don't think you have to. Having done this before on other podcasts, I don't think we need to. But that's stuff we can talk about off here.
Yeah, right. So that's how we're breaking it up. And 30 minutes, 30 minutes, 30 minutes. And yeah, I don't know if everybody has enough time to listen to the whole thing, but oh well, people can listen to our shenanigans if they want, and there's a lot of other good stuff out there. But hey, you know us, we're fun to listen to.
Definitely. That's pretty much all I've got for the tech stuff, at least on my end. Do you have anything you want to chit chat about at all?
Well, yeah, what I miss most about my flip phone is the size, because I've got this bad boy right here, and it takes up a lot of space in my pocket. But my flip phone was about about that size. It was so small. It fit easily in my pocket. I miss how it feels in my pocket, because this thing is so big. I don't like to keep it in my pocket. It's just too much. Right. So I'll put it in my coat pocket, or I'll hold on to it, or I'll set it down somewhere. So I just won't have anything in my pocket.
Yeah, I don't mean to go on a rant that Joe Rogan is kind of famous for, but when you think about it, it's kind of horseshit that women are. It's acceptable to carry purses as a woman because I remember putting my iPhone in my jeans and stuff, and it always kind of feel weird. And I would
Yeah,
ask.
I mean, do you go for the back pocket? Do you go for the front pocket?
I'm definitely go for the back pocket. I'm afraid I'll sit on it, but different strokes for different folks.
That's what she said.
Is it maybe
the strokes?
No one really knows. But yeah, women, they can carry purses and they can carry all their shit in a purse. That's perfectly acceptable. But why don't men have that luxury? Because you don't want to be the guy carrying around a messenger bag. Michael, do you carry around a messenger bag?
I don't carry around a messenger bag.
That's good, because I would have made fun of you for that.
I saw this comedian in LA, and he was talking about, he's like this good-looking guy, and he's like, look, ladies, if you want me to carry your purse, I don't mind, but it better not be no ugly-ass purse. I will not hold an ugly-ass purse. It better be like Chanel or Coach that I'm holding. I will only hold a nice purse. So if you don't have a nice purse, I'm not holding it.
That's a good bit. Joe Rogan's bit pretty much comes around to the fact that fanny packs, though made ridiculous by our culture and our society, they're kind of made fun of. They're actually extremely feasible. They're a very efficient device to have. It's all right there, right in front of you. You kind of keep whatever you want in there. So, which I tend to agree with. Don't get me wrong. I'm sorry I can't break the social norm, but I can't be wearing a fanny pack all the time. But yeah, you got to admit they'd be pretty handy.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree. I would definitely wear. Well, no, I take it back. I couldn't wear a fanny pack.
I'm a big book bag guy still. I carry a book bag into work every single day. Sometimes I don't even have anything in it. That's like having it kind of nice.
Yeah, I used to do that too, but I didn't want to get mistaken for a student, so I kind of have to, not look like a student, even though it's hard at these.
We're all a student.
We're
all a student in our own ways. You know what I mean? We all have something to learn.
Yeah, it sounds like something Matthew McConaughey would say, but if you stop learning, you stop living. Yeah. All right.
I know this is a technology podcast, but I just have to say, Matthew McConaughey is freaking killing it these days in terms of, and maybe we could talk about this on movies or film in the galaxy or whatever we're going to talk about, but Matthew McConaughey has been so prolific lately. I don't know, he's been in Mud, Dallas Buyers Club. He's in the new Christopher Nolan movie coming out called Interstellar, which looks to be really, really good. And John and I, my roommate, who it's his birthday tomorrow, is actually here today. We just finished watching what's that show called? True Detectives with him and Woody Harrelson, and I have to give it 2 big thumbs up. Not to steal other reviewers' methods, but it is absolutely out of this world good, insane on HBO. So.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
that's really cool. Yeah, McConaughey he is killing it these days. And anything Christopher Nolan touches, let's face it, that's gold right there.
Oh yeah, definitely one. I would be stepping on some people's toes, and I don't mean to go off on a tangent on our technology podcast, but
this is technology. Film is technology.
Yeah, as much I love Dark Knight, but I think my favorite Christopher Nolan works are things outside of the Batman trilogy.
Oh yeah, me too.
Inception, Memento, even The Prestige. The Prestige, that movie is so incredible. That movie, that has one of my favorite twists in any movie, and still to this day, not gets me because I know it's coming, but it still impresses me just how intricate that storyline is.
Yeah, because you don't really expect it. I think Nolan, I just really respect him as a writer. I mean, he's so gifted as a writer. I like to apply a lot of philosophies from Inception to writing. So you know how they enter the conscience of the person and they, right, create this reality in someone's conscience? That's really what writing is. I mean, you're an architect. You're constructing this universe. in your audience's mind, and then you're just letting the audience fill that with their own experiences. So that's kind of how I feel that parallel is to writing, an Inception.
Well, I mean he's just so, it's actually his he has, who else? There's somebody else. I think it might be his brother that helps him write movies too.
Yeah, I think it's his brother.
But it just, I don't understand how he's done so many consistent home runs for so long in terms of how well the stories are put together, the intricacies, the layers, the twists. I mean, he's just, he's like McConaughey. He's just batting 100 every single time, it seems. So,
he's classically trained. I mean, you've got Shakespearean actors, and he's got a literature background. Everybody in the UK is well versed in literature and stories, and he's just killing it with the screenplays. I mean, just to be honest, I'm working on a second draft of my screenplay, and it's just killing me. The main thing that's killing me is the big picture stuff, the format. I could do dialogue, that comes, but it's the big picture stuff that's really hard to nail down, like you were talking about, Jay.
Yeah. Anybody can have a story, right? I mean, I can tell a story, you can tell a story, but it's throwing a word here or a word there, or taking on purpose, taking it off on a tangent to bring it back around to have just this thicker story. It's kind of like making a sandwich. You can make a sandwich with 2 pieces of bread and a piece of meat, right?
Yeah.
And that's a sandwich. Anybody can make that sandwich. But the more stuff you put on there, not only is it going to be a bigger sandwich and a thicker sandwich to eat, it's also going to have different flavors, it's going to have different tastes, different textures, and a lot of people are going to respect you for taking the time to make that thick sandwich with all those different layers on it. And so, and Nolan, he's got a fucking Big Mac, dude. I mean, I'll tell you what, he's got the secret sauce too. And it might be Thousand Island dressing, but something about it makes it taste a little bit different.
It makes you want more.
Oh yeah.
And that's
and he knows when to stop too. He doesn't put out. He's not like a movie every year or every other year type of thing. He does a movie like just when you're like, man, I wish I haven't seen a Christopher Nolan movie in a while. And then all of a sudden the other day, I go on Wikipedia and I find out he's doing this Interstellar movie, and there's not a lot out there about it. And I wish I knew more. Then I go to the movies the other day and I see a teaser for it, and the teaser just, there's not a lot given away, but it really blows my mind away, and it really just gets me excited, man. He's just he's so good. He's so good.
Oh, it's so much of it is in the screenplay. So much of it is in the screenplay, and those take years. I cranked out a first draft in 3 months, but the second draft is just, you could go several different ways with it. And when I was out in LA, I saw the Incredible Burt Wonderstone movie. I went to a preview of that, or a screening with the writers. John Francis Daly from Freaks and Geeks, he was there, and he's one of the writers along with this other guy. And they just talked about how many drafts they went through of that movie. Now, one director was set to do it, and they went through 12 drafts. 12 drafts with one director. And what does this director do? He says, I'm going to go do another project. So they get a new director, and they write 9 or 10 more drafts.
Right.
So we're talking 20 drafts of one movie. And then after the movie's over, I just get to hear all these stories about them and writing. And John Francis Daly, Jay, he's around our age. I think he's got about 2 years on me. I think he's about 29 or something. I'm 27, you're 26. But he was talking about how awesome it was for him to have Jim Carrey come over to his house and read the lines that he was writing. It was just man, how cool would that be to have Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, reading one of your characters of a screenplay? But, getting back
to all the roles you picked one of his most campy roles, which is definitely notable for it, but you could have said Dumb and Dumber, or I don't know. It doesn't matter. I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you.
Well, it shows his range because it's
Mhm.
got Ace Ventura, you've got The Truman Show, you've got Dumb and Dumber. Uh,
One of my favorite movies that he's ever been, not that he's ever been in, one of my favorite movies, period, of all time is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Absolutely incredible movie.
wow.
Michel Gondry movie, I think. Is that right? Yeah, I think it is a Michel Gondry movie. And he's incredible in that movie. Absolutely incredible. So,
Oh wow, yeah. But I mean, just goes back to Nolan, and even with technology, you mentioned in the first podcast, hey, just because we have all this technology, should we use this? I think it's the same with screenwriting and Nolan as well. We have the technology. He's got the technology and the money to shit out a movie whenever he wants. But what does he do? He makes sure he's got all the scientific elements of a screenplay there. He goes through it. He looks at character development. He looks at story development. He just doesn't shit it out just, like because he can and has the money.
yeah.
So I think that's the kind of restraint that I would like to see society exercising with the use of technology,
Yeah.
especially.
How much time do we have left in this segment?
We've got 6 minutes left.
All right. I'm sorry. Continue with your thought, and then I want to make a kind of a final thing.
Yeah, that's really all I have to say. We could wrap it up in about 2 minutes and move
Okay.
on to the next one.
That sounds good. One thing I want to do, we haven't done this before, and it kind of just popped in my head, but I know you're a big kind of entertainment guy in terms of television and movies and whatnot, and obviously the short form of things like this. But one thing I want to kind of get our viewers or listeners or whatever, kind of get their minds turning and stuff, is kind of this idea of television and movies and how they're kind of, in my opinion, working against each other in terms of a narrative and the narrative they're actually telling. I think in the last maybe decade or so, you've started to see way more ambitious television on TV than you ever have before, with shows like Lost, shows like Breaking Bad, Mad Men, any HBO shows for that matter, and just how much they're pushing the boundaries with the quality of acting, the quality of the productions, the directing, the cinematography, and more than anything, the storylines. I mean, you're seeing some storylines that are so deep. I mean, it would be impossible to have something that deep and actually show it in a movie that's like 90 minutes or something like that. So that's where TV really comes into play. And in my theory, and this is what I want people to think about, I think television right now is providing one of the absolute biggest and best platforms for complex and well-told stories and narratives than almost any medium out there right now, with the exception of literature. I think literature, obviously, when you have something that's 500, 600,000 plus pages, you can have a really deep and intricate narrative. But I think TV is really pushing those boundaries as well, especially pushing movies. So,
Well, any writer knows that it's best to show and not tell. And hey, when you're writing a novel, you've got to put more words in there to really show your reader something. But hey, if you've got technology to make a movie, then you can have the images right in front of you. You can show that in just one single frame, and it's immediate, and you can condense it from, like you said, 500 to 800 pages to shoot, just to down to something small and more manageable. And definitely somebody can sit down and plow through 10 movies or, 2 seasons of Mad Men and still have the same narrative of a book or a novel. You still have this character development and story development.
well, I would agree with that, but I would also challenge that and say that you would never, ever, ever in a million years be able to, in my opinion, achieve something with the depth of something like Breaking Bad in a movie. I just don't
Oh,
think that you'd be
right.
able to do something like that, or a number, even Lost. And if we talk about TV shows, I will reference Lost a lot. And I know people are fairly bitter and sour about Lost for the sole fact of the ending wasn't what they had in mind of it. But I think as a whole, in a bigger picture, the show is really freaking complex. I mean, all you know, the different turns and twists that they took that show in. I think in terms of narrative and in writing, you really have to kind of hail that show really well done in the bigger grand scheme of things. But yeah, I think there are shows out there, probably a smaller number than a larger number, that really push movies into saying, hey, look at what we're doing, look at how big our sandwich is, and while you're basically saying your sandwich is just as big, it's really not as big. You know what I mean? You got a lot of lettuce on a damn sandwich.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you've got a movie, you've got less time to get your audience to like a character. But like, let's use Mad Men for example. I tell people, I'm like, look, the first 6 episodes are very, very slow, but I think it's necessary, just like a good book, that you have to just sit down and you just have to get the background information. And then once you get that background information, you get to know each character, and it's twisted and up and done intricately, then you can get into the story part. Then you know the characters. Then you can keep building. I think that's the advantage of TV shows. I think that's why I like watching TV shows now, and I think that's why that term binge watching is so popular now, of just like watching entire seasons at a time.
Oh yeah,
which I love doing.
That's the best way to do it, really. I mean, I feel like TV shows are really meant to do that. And but yeah, I feel like that's something we can definitely talk really in depth about. Really fill up a good 30 minutes next time. So
yeah. And I think that's a good point to cut it off. We're right on time here, and thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll hit you up later with the album reviews. Catch you in the next one.